Hey there everybody, it's Caleb, the lead designer for Cure. I'm going to show you guys how to play the demo. So let's get started. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is explain the controls. The mouse, when it reaches the edge of the screen, will move the camera. Scroll wheel on the mouse will zoom in and out the camera. Left click dragging on the background will create a selection box that will select units. In fact, I will show you if you go up here to menu, left click, go to options, click key bindings, you'll see an image that describes a lot of the controls I'm about to show you. So if you need that for reference while the game is running, that's where you go. Okay, so I now have my two starting units selected. Selected means that I can give them commands. So if I right click, they will move to wherever I right click. I can then move my camera over here, right click like this, and they'll begin to move this way. You'll also notice as I'm mousing over elements, pop-ups will appear down here in the bottom right corner. This is a great way to get some pointers while you're playing the game. They basically explain what's going on and what you need to pay attention to, etc. The first menu I'll go over is this menu right down here. This is your control group menu. So this shows you how many guys are in your group. So I've selected these two. I have two colonizers. This giant section right here is your mini-map. As you can see, I'll left click and drag. I can move the camera around. As I zoom in and out, the square gets bigger and smaller. So this is the representation of the level. This denotes the host status. So health is basically the health of the host, and pathogens are the amount of pathogens left. As you can see up here, our goal for this level is to destroy the pathogens before the timer runs out. So we haven't really been doing our job, but that's okay. The next menu over here is your current location menu. This shows you information about where your mouse is and also what is in the world at that location. So if I search around, eventually I will find something to mouse over. Oh, well, that was not ideal. I will sacrifice one of my units for the greater good. Ah, here we go. So as you can see, I'm mousing over this area and it's showing me that there is sulfur there. You'll also notice when I mouse over my unit, a menu appears in the bottom right. This is essentially what is on this unit. As you can see, his sulfur number is going up because he is eating sulfur. So this gets into the main mechanisms behind the game. You need to build units and you need to gather materials. And the way that you do those things are using your abilities. Your abilities menu is down here. You have two modes, combat and non-combat. Another way to switch between those two modes is to hold shift and tab, and that'll swap between the two. You can select an ability by left clicking on it or by hitting the tab key, and it'll tab between all of your abilities. Now as you can see, I have one ability highlighted. This means that this ability can be cast. Morph to soldier. As you can see in the bottom right menu, it costs 50 sulfur. And if I mouse over my unit, I can see I have 280 sulfur. So I have more than enough sulfur to cast this ability. The ways to cast an ability are you can either right click the ability or hit the space bar on that ability that is selected. So now I am morphing into a soldier. Soldier units are more combat ready and tougher than colonizers, but they're also slow. So you have to be careful. So as you can see, he still has sulfur from when he was a colonizer. And he can also do a lot of the same things colonizers can. Now as you can see, there's a whole bunch of enemies up there, so I'm not going to go that way. So basically the name of the game, as you can see, is to kind of explore and find materials. Now at this point in the game, I'm very weak and have to be very careful and play this incredibly cautiously. Later, when you actually have a full armada of bacteria, you will be wishing that you could find where all the bad guys are so that you can kill them. So in order to reproduce, we need to cast the fission ability. Fission on all units requires nutrients, and we have yet to find nutrients. Now this is alcohol. This is a good example of a bad chemical. So some chemicals are good. Alcohol and arsenic are bad chemicals. So if I were to go in here, I'd actually start to become damaged by that chemical. This is arsenic, so the way I could find that out is, again, I moused over it and I looked over here and it showed me underneath my mouse was arsenic. Alright, we found a tiny pocket of glucose, which is a nutrient. So I'm going to allow him to absorb this, and then once he's absorbed enough, which would be 120, we will mitosis, or fission rather. Okay, now you can see this ability is able to be cast. I'm going to hit the space bar to cast it now. And as you can see, I've created a copy. Now, I'll go to my combat menu, and I can cast my Injectosomes, which is to make my weaponry, or spikes. Now we're combat ready. Soldiers have the unique ability to charge against enemy units when you right-click on them. I'll show you an example on these cells. So normally, you can see the speed at which a soldier moves. I'm now going to right-click on the cell and you'll see him speed up. This is a great way to close the distance and create an ambush attack on an enemy. But you have to be careful because the other soldiers in the level that are pathogens will do the same thing to you. Now we have a dead cell. With dead cells, as with all dead units, can be digested and harvested for nutrients. So as you can see, I've right-clicked on this dead body, and I'm going to slowly digest it into protein that I can eat just like sugar as a nutrients. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to morph one of my soldiers back into a colonizer. Now I'll show you how the colonizer combat ability works. This is the colonizing enzyme. I'm going to cast it now by hitting the space bar. So as you can see, I'm emitting this green cloud. This cloud is a colonizing enzyme which is harmful to enemy units and beneficial to my units. As you'll begin to see, once this cloud reaches this cell, it'll start to become damaged. In order to create this cloud, I have to spend 2 nutrients per second. This colonizer has 127, so I should be fine. The longer that it casts, the wider the AoE gets on this ability to a point. If your colonizer moves or is pushed outside of the bounds of the enzyme, it will cease casting it and the enzyme will begin to shrink over time. This is a good combat strategy for defeating colonizers, is use a soldier to push them out of the colonizing cloud. But you have to be careful because if you're in the colonizing cloud and you don't have a lot of HP, you can die. So that's the basics. With this knowledge, you should be able to go through, kill some bacteria, and have some fun. Again, you can always come up here to the menu, options, key bindings, and this will help you learn the controls of the game. For any other information, you can also mouse over just about every window or object in the game, and it'll give you some type of description about it. We are currently running a GameKicker campaign on GameKicker.org. We're looking for help from the community to help fund this game and make it into the great game we know it can be. So please come and support us, and feel free to share this demo with any of your friends, and please come to our community forums on our website, curethegame.com, and give us any feedback you have on the demo. We'd love to hear what you think. Have a good evening. Goodbye.